it was my dream to go to Memo, and I was so happy I got into it. Now, those three things, I've let it run through my personal statement. I've let it run throughout all the experiences I put in my CV. And there are so many volunteer initiatives which you can do sitting from home if you just use social media well, Because the most important thing is to understand, know how a research goes about. So research is a broad term. There are many, that helped me build a rapport with everybody in the team as well as the attending, because they saw that. So I feel my money is nicely invested and spent. I think one must calculate the risks based on when you're going to go for the match. Oh, I knew better about this. I'm learning from my own experience. I wish I already knew about it. Mm-hmm. So I made this page to help others.
Congratulations for matching. Firstly, that's like a huge thing, right? How did you react? Like, what was your reaction when you first got to know?
So I actually got my match email 2 minutes before, Mm-hmm. So I was just like, let me have a little bit of dinner and then I can probably just wait for the match email. But I got it before, and now I'm like, I don't have any appetite because I'm so happy I matched. Oh. But then there are these 2-3 days in the middle where you're like, where did I match? That's more, what keeps playing around in your head. And then on that Friday night when I got to know I'm going to Maimonides, me and my mom, we were literally jumping up and down after that for 10 minutes straight, jumping up and down, screaming, because, it was my dream to go to Memo, and I was so happy I got into it. So it was like, it is too good. It is amazing. No words can describe it, honestly.
I'm so happy for you. This is amazing because, like, for me, I remember on the day of the match, I was just seeing all these wonderful posts, and it's so exciting because we're going to be going through the process the next year and the years to come. So it's really nice to see people match. It's amazing.
I wanted to have a party actually because, but then, COVID cases, and also we all were just like virtually just be like, hey, you got in, I got in, It was very fun.
Right, of course. So this must have been like a really long journey, right? Like from med school
yes.
and all these exams, interviews, all this whole 2020 uncertainty. So when did your USMLE journey start? Like, did you start preparing way back in med school, or how did it all start?
So in my first year of MBBS, I had thought I'll do USMLE. But then as years went by, till the time I reached third minor, I realized that no, I want to stay in my own country. I don't want to go abroad and everything. So in third minor, I joined DAMS for NEET preparation actually. So I used to go on the weekends to DAMS, Monday to Friday. We were all working in the wards and everything. So, but throughout that year, I remember the year was 2017 when I was in third minor and I was attending DAMS classes. No offense to the lectures, they're amazing. But I, as a person, was not very happy with where my life was going. I've always been someone who's, very much been interested in, my writing, extracurriculars, leadership, organization, you name it, and I've been a part of. I put my fingers in all the pies. And then to suddenly be like, oh, you have to only study because that's what NEET is, or that's what residency is, suddenly made me rethink whether I'm in the right path. And so actually, this started somewhere in the middle of third minor. Me, my parents, we all sat down. We were just really thinking about what is the best path for someone like me. Like, I would never be happy with just like normal residency or something. So that's when it struck me that probably United States of America, going into USMLE, where they will respect these things on my CV, as well as I'll get such opportunities during residency, would be the right path for me. And also because the future of medicine in India is uncertain. It always keeps changing, as we can clearly see with all the things that have been happening since 1 year. And also because the fellowship options that I was looking at were more in the States than in India. So overall, everything made me push to go towards the USMLE pathway. And so by the end of third minor MBBS, when I took my university examinations, I think that's when I finalized that, okay, I'm going to do USMLE. So it was quite a late choice as compared to my peers because they actually wrote step 1 in third minor, whereas I decided to do it at that time. So my entire journey was very different from theirs.
That's great because like you've chosen something where you can use your complete potential, and I think that's an amazing choice. So how is it like for you to begin? Did you have like a mentor or someone telling you, or some seniors, or did you have to do all the research on your own?
A bit of both, actually. So we have a very robust system in my medical college where a lot of people go for USMLE. And
Mm-hmm.
hence, like, we have these so many seniors every year giving us advice and everything. But at the beginning, I thought, because I joined the whole journey late from the rest of my peers and from everybody, so I at the beginning was like a newcomer. I didn't know who to talk to, what
Hmm.
to talk about. So I did all the research on my own, and so me and my mom, we just sat, we read through the ECFMG website, the USMLE website, everything and anything that goes on in the match. We read up everything. That was the first thing we did. And from what we understood is the most important thing is to get electives. And the best time to apply for electives would be final year if I wish to go in internship. So the next step was actually to apply for electives. So we made our own timeline, we made our own pathway. And then slowly, like, I started talking to my peers and talking to my seniors, and they guided me more. So it was a mix of everything. That's
Hmm.
how it went for me.
That's
So
good. That's great. So a lot of people asked what is the best time to take USMLE. Like people have this assumption that you as an IMG can't do really well on the USMLE if you take it before graduating because of the difference in syllabus and all that. So what is your take on that?
I think it's ideal to actually complete the steps with your med school. So especially third minor as a year is relatively lighter than the other years of MBBS. At least that's what my experience was, and I think a lot of my friends would agree to that. So it's a very good time to complete step one. Now that step one will become pass and fail, you will anyway have to devote lesser time to it. Like you will probably devote 6 months or 5 months at the place of devoting 8 9 months to it. So it's very easily something you can complete during med school, because also you're fresh with the first and second year knowledge. So it's great to just build up on that, read up first aid, do your world, and just go for the exam actually. So complete that, get that out of the way. It's a big exam, just finish it. And then you can apply for electives in your final year, go for it during internship. You go for that and you get those, clinical hands-on rotations under your belt. And in internship itself, start focusing on step 2 CK, and that give it adequate time. Give it like easily 8 to 10 months of good preparation of CK, because now the focus is going to shift to CK, for the scores point of view. So it's good to then start preparing that way and try to get a really high score in CK. So devote enough time to that. And well, now that step to CS or something has, or some alternative to it has not come up, the only thing is writing OET. Now for OET, you need to prepare only 2 weeks and you'll be done with it actually. It's a basic English exams just with medical terminologies. So overall, if you have a good timeline where you started early in med school, you'll be able to complete your USMLE by the time you graduate, which puts you in a very good position, both if you want to go for the match or even if you want to go for some postdoc research fellowship right after graduation if you're planning to go into a competitive specialty. So it's like plan it all well right from the beginning of med school so that you're able to hit all the nails on the head, basically.
Right. And then also like after graduating, there's nothing to worry about, right? Because you've completed
Absolutely.
everything what you have to right before.
Yeah.
I
And
think that
having a
is
step one score opens up the fact that you can go for more electives. So that
Mhm.
also you can get. And you can then, and electives especially happen only when you are able to fulfill the thing that you're in your last year or second last year of med school. So genuinely having a step one done opens up a more variety of colleges to apply to for electives. So
Right.
a
That makes
win-win
a lot of
actually.
sense. So, what do you think are like the pros and cons of taking step one after it becomes pass fail? So, like some people are trying to rush it before the 26th of Jan because after that it's going to become
Yeah.
pass fail, right? So, what do you think would be better?
I think one must calculate the risks based on when you're going to go for the match. So now, if I was somebody who was planning to go for the match the very next year, I know that the pool of candidates who I will be competing against will have a three-digit step one score, because, as I said, many write it in their third minor year or have already completed it and will now be writing CK and then applying. So those going for the match this year or next year must try to finish step one now so that they get a three-digit score. But those who might be going a little later in the, like, say, in match 2024 or match 2025, then you will start seeing this pool becoming diluted with people having a step one pass fail and everything. So now the focus is going to shift more and more towards CK. At the beginning, the focus will be equivocal, but it will start shifting towards CK. So calculate the risks based on when you're going to go for the match. If it's somebody who's going to go the very next year, complete it now, get a three-digit step score, and concentrate on CK then. But if you're somebody who's going to go much later, it's fine. Take it later, take step one afterwards, and then focus on CK and try to get a very high score in that. So it's just pros and cons are based on that way. That when you're who you're going to be competing against, you know.
Right. I think that's really logical because a lot of people they just look at it very objectively. They're just like, I need a
Yeah,
digit score, let me just go for it. So it's really nice how you
yeah.
explained like it's different for different
Because
people
it's
and different
see, it's because
scenarios.
it's inevitable that this change is going to happen. You can't fight that. So what do you do to use it to your advantage? You understand who's going to be your competition, who's going to be the candidate against which you will be judged. You know, so
Right.
might as well understand the rules and play along with it. You know.
Right. That's actually pretty smart. So what is the entire cost of the whole USMLE journey?
A lot. So I actually have this. I've calculated the costs. I have this post on my Instagram page where I have broken it down. Of course, I can't account for everything, but roughly, for me personally, I think the expenditure was around 18,000 to 20,000 US dollars. You
Okay.
must also see the fact that I did not have a interview season where I was traveling from place to place. I had a virtual one, so that saved up a lot of money for me.
Right.
But adding some more expenses of that, maybe 3,000, $5,000. So yeah, air travel, I have excluded that from my calculation because that's very variable. And I also had to complete payments for my compulsory government bond service.
Okay.
So I did not do the bond service. I did the payment for it. So that also is an expenditure. So overall, if we were talking in Indian rupees, I think keeping aside 30 to 35 lakhs easily, yeah, that
Okay.
that we that is definitely required. So yeah, you should be mentally prepared for that.
Right. What are the common mistakes that you should avoid during the USMLE preparation?
Uh wow. Okay. So where do I start with? Because I have made a lot of mistakes, and I think everybody does, and then looks back and be like, I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
I think let me start with my electives were not something I made a lot of mistakes, and I applied well. I applied to good programs. I got great electives. Yeah, I wish that during my electives I was a bit more, I don't know, well prepared for it. So I went in being like, oh, I'm just a medical student, but please don't go in. Be more professional. Be more, I don't know, well prepared with what you're going to be dealing with. Know your history taking physical examination well. I knew it. I was good at it, but it was still I was like very scared. So
I
don't
think
be
that
scared. Also be
confidence,
confident.
right?
Yeah, I think yeah, be more confident. Be more open. Be more vocal. Be more opportunistic. Like keep grabbing opportunities and keep like if there's a case report or just presentations, something, just keep doing all that. And
Right.
you may never know what how it helps you in any ways. And if possible, try meeting the department head of the specialty you will eventually want to match in during your electives, just to get an idea. You're talking to a program director, they might be able to guide you for the rest of your journey. So utilize that knowledge. So that's the thing for electives. For step one prep, my God, I can say so much. But step one, yeah, be use selected resources, but use them well.
Mhm.
Keep revising UWorld. I did UWorld very haphazardly because I had this really bad OBGYN rotation going on in internship, and I was like exhausted by the end of the day, both mentally and physically. So for me, my UWorld preparation suffered during that time. So I suggest that give it adequate time. Like be good with it. Of course, I don't know how things are going to change with the step one pass fail, but eventually the same thing goes in CK. Give adequate time to CK. Give adequate time to UWorld. It's a beautiful, wonderful resource. So give your best for the step scores. Also, a mistake which I see others making are especially people who think the scores are the only thing. It's not always that. Try to build up your CV in any manner. Any manner. That can be any volunteer experience, be research, anything. Basically, show that you're a human being outside of just your scores and try to show your interest in the specialty and try to get into probably NGOs or anything at all in that specialty. Try to aggressively search for research opportunities because that doesn't always happen. Like I know right now I'm doing it. Like I'm googling if there are any peer review or options that are open, any open research or something which I can just join because I'm sitting bored at home. But you all can do the same. Smash the Google search button. Try to get as many opportunities as possible. It's all out there in the internet. Try to email people if you really have to, asking for opportunities to observe or do research. You might never know what it lands up being. So these are some of the things I would advise people to do, which I couldn't do. So
I think the fact about like reaching out and communicating, I think that's
yeah,
something everyone has to do because it's sometimes opportunities are just like one email away. They just need to
yeah,
do that.
exactly.
So
I
I.
actually would also suggest getting on social media sites like LinkedIn and Twitter. So
Mhm.
we have a whole Met Twitter,
Right.
community on Twitter, which can help you get so many opportunities. And on LinkedIn only, I've suddenly become part of another COVID initiative, and I've gotten in touch with I've just gotten in touch with many people, found a new website to do work on. So LinkedIn opened up a window of opportunities for me. So it can do it for you too. So definitely open up a good profile on all social media sites. Don't let it distract you from your studies though, but let it work in your favor so that you're able to get good opportunities.
Right. Yeah. And then you'll also get to know so many doctors and stuff and probably like learn from them.
Absolutely.
And connections are like right now, I think social media is just there. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely. And there are
So what
so many volunteer initiatives which you can do sitting from home if you just use social media well.
true, true.
I've done that since last
Even
year,
I
so
got one last year. Like I had to like call up migrant workers and like talk to them and like just ask them if their mental health is okay and like if they're getting
okay.
food and stuff. So it's like basic stuff which you can do just sitting at home.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
it's
I
really
think
worth
people
it
can
if you
just
can do
find
it.
it. Yeah. So what are the things that you did during med school and all these years to like, build your CV apart from your academics? Because you said you love all of these things. Because even I'm like that.
Yeah.
I can't just study. I have to do other stuff. So what are some things that
Absolutely. I
you
just
did?
can't sit and study. I've never been like that. So whatever I did was actually in a way to keep myself feeling alive during a very dead school year.
Hmm.
But otherwise, so I didn't really build up my CV towards USMLE. It just happened to be that way. So I'm
Right.
a writer. I write a lot. So in my first year, I was part of a magazine called Drishti that we have in our first year, where the freshers write about their experiences in their first year of medical school. So I was the editor for that.
Hmm.
I took part in the fashion show competition in my medical
Nice.
college. So yeah, I did that. I was part of the dance troupe in the later years called Dreams. I used to go for debates. A lot of debates I've gone for. I had a very great debating partner.
Hmm.
So we both used to team up and always go. A lot of essay writing competitions. All my organizational capabilities have gone into organizing the academic fest of our medical school, which is Confluence. Or even I was a cultural secretary for 2 years. I've done myriad things. I have been the part of the organizing committee of the first TEDx that happened at our medical school.
Whoa. That's amazing.
Yeah, we did TEDx also, so it was great. We were like recruiting speak. I was doing everything like so, and I've been a very big part of all the social media teams of everything. We had the first medical humanities conference. I was part of like the organization for that. So I've done a lot of things because I was just like always want to do something. You can't just sit still. So I used to
Exactly.
organize this conference, that thing, or I was into writing. So you could
Mhm.
find me doing that and everything. So in the year, then when I was thinking between USMLE or NEET in 2017, I took part in the Global Bioethics Day celebrations. My medical college, SAGS Medical College in KEM Hospital, if y'all are wondering, that's in Mumbai. We have a UNESCO bioethics wing affiliated to our medical school. So they had these competitions, and in that I stood first in essay writing and debate, and that kind of
Oh,
sealed the
awesome.
deal. That if I want to continue doing this for the rest of my life, I have to go to the states because here, this is it. This is the last thing I'll ever do. After that,
Right.
it's only going to be like I don't know. Maybe that's my perception. Maybe the resident doctors of India will be like, no, Devanshi, that's not the case. But this is my perception. And I guess even now, as a pediatrics resident, I'll probably get a lot more options to do things like these than if I were a pediatrics resident in India. So maybe. So I
That's
do a
true.
lot of things. A lot of things. My CV is huge.
Did you do any research though in med school?
I did so many attempts at research which never actually came out to being
Uh-huh.
anything because various reasons like my mentor would get busy or ethics would keep sending us revisions, so in the end we'd just lose interest in the topic or something. The last thing I was doing was part of the department of psychiatry. We wanted to know the corporate employees and their sleep habits which were affected by social media and screen time. So we were going around to different companies in Mumbai and we were just giving out, questionnaires to them and everything. But all that abruptly stopped with the pandemic and we never got back
Oh
to
my
it. So,
God.
yeah, one more research that like bites the dust. So, I've got bad luck with research more than bad experiences. So I'm hoping to
Mm-hmm.
change the tide when I go for residency, honestly, get more experiences, more
More
stuff to publish,
exposure.
hopefully.
Yeah, of course. And so, for a student in India, how do they find research? Because I don't know, like many students, they don't know how to, begin, especially without any
So
proper guidance from their universities and stuff. So, how do they begin?
I have actually again another post on this because I've seen and I've learned from my own experiences. But the first thing is find a good mentor. How do you find a good mentor? So you need to know your faculty well in which department you will approach. Understand what kind of faculty they are. Like if it's a faculty member who's good at publications, so what you can do is just like find the names of the faculty members and you put it into Google Scholar and you see what kind of publications they have. You can put it into PubMed, you can put it into Google Scholar. Just try to see what kind of do they have enough number of publications? How often do they publish? Where do they publish? What kind of research are they publishing? Who were they joining up with? Who were the other authors? Were they other faculty members or were they giving chances to residents and undergrad students? Try to pick one person who you see fits into all of these bills, like who's somebody who's friendly, who's got a good research background, who works with our undergrad students. Go up to them, politely explain to them, and be frank. If you are a USMLE aspirant looking to do research, explain that I'm a USMLE aspirant. I am looking to do research and build up my CV, and I'm also interested in knowing more about it. So could you please guide me? Because the most important thing is to understand, know how a research goes about. So research is a broad term. There are many things. There's an original research study. Again, in that, there's retrospective, there is prospective. It's studies that are going on. It's randomized controlled trial. It means it's an interventional study or you're going into observational studies. You need to understand all of this. If you're somebody who's looking for relatively quick publications with the mentor, then what you can do is case reports. So
Mm-hmm.
you see an interesting case, and it may not necessarily be some sort of zebra case. It has to be something interesting, something from which the management can help another clinician. So you just write it up well, simple history, physical examination, diagnosis, treatment, write that up well, do a good literature search, and you can publish that. That's a quick publication usually. Or you do a narrative review, a scoping review. So there are two kinds of reviews. A systematic review is a very long process, takes lots of years, lots of time. You do a narrative, a scoping review, where you just basically do a literature search, try to collate all that information, and try to make it a piece, an article which you can get published. That okay, say COVID-19 and pregnant women. So you did like a literature search, found this all out, like 40, 50 references probably, and eventually wrote on what you think, how it affects COVID-19, how it affects in the first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, at birth, overall fertility of a woman, stuff like that. So there is a lot. There's a lot to do in research. Pick what you want to do and pick your timeline. Original research obviously pays off well because eventually that will get published in the bigger journals and give you a good credibility as a research scientist. But doing smaller things like a case report or a review article can also add to your profile. So it's not a bad thing to do. Collaborate with people, collaborate with other researchers, other people who you think, because hey, they might be having some contacts, or they might be having some better knowledge of some parts. It's good to be with like-minded people and work towards a research. It doesn't, you don't have to be, oh, I'll be the only author or I'll be the first author, so I only have to do this. No, team up with people. It always helps you reduce your caseload, and also authorship doesn't matter as long as you are part of that publication. Okay, like I know I also used to be like, oh, first author, second author. But sometimes as a medical student, be a third, fourth, fifth author, but the experience get it on your CV. It doesn't matter. You
Right.
will progress onto first and second author later in your life. Yeah, get a good mentor in your, preferably in a specialty of your choice. But if not, in first year you can begin with stuff like anatomy, and they have a lot of cadavers. You could do a poster, you can do a paper on a unique case. In second year, go to your clinical pharmacology department, work with them. You can even go to pathology. In second year, if your rotation start in the wards, look at all the departments. Which one do you like most, and which one do you think you might take up as a specialty in the future? Then you start working with mentors in that field. Once you realize, oh, I may not like this, then okay, go to another specialty. It doesn't hurt as long as you are continuously working towards, identifying yourself and identifying whether you like research or not. It's as simple as that.
Right, true. And I feel like also this whole second author thing, it's completely fine because even for me, when I did it, like I had no idea how to start. I was probably like the third or fourth author because I was the only medical student. The other people had like a PhD and like a lot of degrees. So I was
Exactly.
like two or
I
three,
mean,
but then it didn't bother me because I was able to learn from them because for me, it's still a clean slate, right? And it was all their
absolutely.
input and stuff. It really helped.
Absolutely. And if you have something like this, then when you go for your electives, you can always, team up with people there. And, so currently even I'm working on a case report with my mentor at University of Kansas, and we're hoping to get it published. It's
Mhm.
been delayed due to many things like COVID, but eventually we'll definitely get it published. So yeah, I mean, you can have those sort of opportunities with international authors, and, just keep working. Start small, dream big, and you'll eventually get there. So research is not so impossible as it was thought to be. It doesn't always have to be an original research. Start with case
Right.
reports, reviews, move on ahead, do a poster presentation, present it in any conference. Start small, and then you'll go on to the bigger things like doing actually retrospective or prospective studies and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that'll be great. And does the research have to be in the same specialty as what you're applying in, or can it be in any other specialty?
It can be in anything. As I said, I was doing this research on psychiatry, and I was asked about it in every one of my pediatric interviews. So it doesn't hurt. It's like they were fascinated by it. That, oh, this is what you were thinking about, and oh, you could now change it up with with the pandemic and the lockdown. People have been looking at screens more. So does that affect? Will that be an outlier now? So they were giving me advice on my research topic. So the thing is,
That's
it
good.
doesn't matter as long as it's something interesting, something good, and you must be able to talk about it, because you worked on it.
Correct. And I also feel like a lot of these things like help the interviewers ask you questions and stuff, and you can speak more during interviews.
Yeah, definitely. So that's why you need something on your CV. You can't just be someone who walks in with like barely anything and then they'll be wondering what can we ask the candidate. Have something,
Right.
talk about it's also important to incorporate all these experiences in the interviews or even in your personal statement, and also build up a CV. Have all those things with you.
Comes to a CV, like some people tend to add a lot of things on their CV, maybe some free online Harvard course that they did. So are these considered fluff on a CV? So what are some things we should not add on a CV?
Again, a very good guide to understanding what can be put on a CV or not is understanding what can be put eventually on your ERAS CV. So
Mhm.
ERAS is Electronic Residency Application Services. The CV which is there, you don't upload your own curriculum right there. You type it out in their CV, their sections that they already have online. So once you understand what are the sections, what do they require, you will understand what becomes fluff and what is not fluff.
Okay.
Again, I have a post on that. I do these Match Wednesday posts showing that I have written about the ERAS CV and what sections there are. But again, basically to understand, your personal information is obviously there. Then they ask you about your academic accomplishments. So again, everything is very space limited. So three important, your academic accomplishments can be mentioned there. Um, they ask about being part of any professional society and stuff. Now, again, if that professional society is, say, internationally well known, has its own probably any journal or something. So, if you're already a student member of some chapter of an American society, it might have some importance. But otherwise, being part of any society here in India does not hold so much stake. And
Right.
eventually, you'll become a member anyway once you become a resident doctor automatically. So if
Mhm.
you have it, or even if you don't have it, it's not important. Again, there's another section asking if you are PALS, ACLS, BLS certified. Again, not important unless you've done it in an American medical university with an on in-person course. Doing it online or doing it in India again won't hold an importance because you'll anyway do all of these courses again in your orientation for residency. So choose wisely, choose well. Don't waste time in things which are going to be considered as sort of fluff, like these things.
Mm,
Now,
right.
going on to the other parts of your CV, the most important thing is experience part of it. So experiences are divided into three things: research, work, and volunteer experiences. So research is basically anything which is clinically that you worked in any study, or as I said, all these various things, actually case reports, wherever you've basically done a research of any form comes under that. Work experience is basically any clinical work that you've done. So your internship comes into that, your clinical electives comes into that. Observerships ideally do not come into this because it's not hands-on. You're not working with a patient. But if you don't have electives, fine, you can put observerships there. It doesn't hurt. It's fine. Okay. They will choose to decide. They will choose whether they want to pay attention to it or not. So put it in if you don't have electives or something. So any clinical work, any observership, maybe can be put there. So what's remaining is volunteer work, which is anything which doesn't fall in work or research. So your volunteer is broad. It may not just be volunteering in an NGO, but also like as I said, you're in an organizational leadership position in all these various conferences or TEDx or something that you've done, or even if you were a chief editor of the magazine, which I was. So again, another thing I did. So anything at all that you have volunteered to do, which is not part of the wards, which is not research, anything, and it should be credible. It and preferably it should be leadership positions. Like if you say I was a volunteer in this NGO and ended up doing barely any work through the year, don't put it because they'll ask you what you did and you don't have anything to say. I was just a member of it. That doesn't help. If you've actually taken up initiative and done something, if you've actually taken up a leadership position in that, then it makes sense because you're actually going to be talking about it. You actually will have something to discuss. Like last year, I became part of Switch India, and I was head of the PR and social media. And that is a great experience because we did so much work because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We had so many live sessions, we did so many infographics, we were arranging so many things on social media. So my position was something I could talk about. We even made a Corona chatbot. I was asked about that in 2, 3 interviews of mine because they loved the idea of it. So unless until you have something substantial to talk about, it is tough. So understand, you may do 100 things in your lifetime, but what is important is something you'll be able to feel passionate about and explain, and also builds towards what kind of personality you want to show. So what I tell everybody is, in your medical school performance evaluation, you have the choice of writing 3 noteworthy characteristics about yourself, which is as if your dean has written for you. Because you have the control over it, usually you are the one writing it, otherwise your dean will write for you. So choose those 3 characteristics well, and let that be the theme that runs through your CV and runs through your personal statement. So say for me, it was my writing, my leadership, and my organizational skills or something like that, roughly saying it. Now, those 3 things, I've let it run through my personal statement. I've let it run throughout all the experiences I put in my CV. So keep a homogeneous pattern. Let it look like, okay, this girl's dedicated. This boy has done it with passion. They know who they are. They've discovered who they are, and they truly want to work in this. They've not done it just for the fluff. They are actually working. Hence, they have such experiences. So that's how one should aim to put things in your CV. And even if you have less, it's fine as long as it's quality. Quality is what matters actually.
Yeah, I think that's really good because like a lot of people just put in stuff for it to look long and then they are
Yeah,
not able to explain any of it. So what you said made a
exactly.
lot of sense. Like it should just like sort of reflect your personality and who you are and
Absolutely.
not what you want them to think you are, right?
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
if you're a researcher and you don't have any volunteer experience, it's fine. Being a
Mhm.
researcher is part of who you are. So then
Right.
you work on that. Or if you don't like research, which is what I had eventually come to become, I did not like research. So I have a lot of volunteer and other things in my CV which show that okay, this is who I am. So I don't necessarily have to go in for any research related work, but I can definitely work for communities. I can work for the advocacy of that. And that's a very big part in pediatrics. You're always advocating for the child and for their
Mhm.
welfare. So that completely worked in my favor too. So yeah,
Yeah, because like again, like many people think that for matching, you just have these boxes and you have to check all of them, like
exactly.
volunteer, research, clinical experience, this. But like you said, if you're not interested in something and that does not align with your personality, there's no point in doing it, right?
Exactly. So it's always better to have things which look homogeneous, which match who you are, because eventually they meet you for 15 minutes during an interview, but then if they match you to their program, you're going to be working with them for 3 years. They will
Right.
see that you are something else entirely. That time, it'll be a very big trouble for you. So don't do that. Be true to yourself.
Yeah. So like there are people who are applying for like more than just one specialty. So do they
Mhm.
have to have a dedicated CV for each of them or can they just use the same one for all of them?
Preferably make it specialty specific,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. I know that many of us have mixed things. Like obviously, not all my experiences are something that will go into peds. Some of them were for IM. Just because I was more my style. My research was in psychiatry, so that's another thing
Mm-hmm.
out of the left field. But if you're able to somehow overall show something that is like, okay, I am doing it only for peds, and then you remove that and put, I'm only doing this for say I am. And if
Mm.
you're dual applying, then your CV will show that. So yeah, try to do that. Try to make it specialty specific. It's, if even if you don't have it, it's fine, but it's preferable.
Right.
So
Okay. Makes sense. And you said like you did your electives in the US, right? Did you also
yeah.
consider doing a tele rotation, or did you do just the in-person one?
So I did not even think about tele rotations very honestly. So I did two electives when I was in the States, one at University of Kansas in hematology oncology, and the other one in University of Alabama in
Hmm.
pediatric endocrinology. And I had been selected for a third one, a pediatric oncology sub internship at Memorial Sloan Kettering for last May. And I was like so happy about it, but it got cancelled due to COVID. So then I did not think about adding any more rotations or anything. I was fine with it. I was fine with whatever letters I would have got from those two electives. And then I just concentrated on, building up the CV otherwise. Because at that point, tele rotation something was not even something that crossed my mind and many others' minds. So
Hmm.
I did not really think about it. And although for this year's match, those who go may have to consider tele rotations only for the fact that since 1.5 years now, we've not had any electives. So definitely most people going for this match won't have any US LORs. So if you want it, definitely consider these other, remote possibilities that could happen till the
Hmm.
time things open up or get better.
So, how did you prepare and make the most of your rotation when you were in the US?
I think the one thing I'll tell everyone is be very dedicated. Like, be the first person to reach, last person to leave. Make sure you're always like friendly and approachable and polite when you're there. Okay, not only to the attendings, but also to the residents, fellows, other medical students who will be rotating with you. Especially be nice to the nurses, nurse practitioners, everybody, because they are also an integral part of the healthcare team. So be nice to everybody. That shows. And build a rapport with the attending because probably you'll be getting a letter from them. So how do you build a rapport? Basically, talk to them about each case that you see, discuss it with them. Why, sir, why do you think that the management is like that? Don't say sir, say doctor so and so. Okay, like they don't like sir and madam there much, they like doctor so and so. They will not say that out loud, but just be polite. Of course, keep asking a lot of questions, discuss this. If you read about a case, it's good to do a little literature search on the side in PubMed. So you see similar cases and how do they deal with that. You can always, go up to the attending and be like, doctor, I saw this sort of case happening. This is the way they did it there. How is this case different from this? That shows that, okay, you're very interested. You're like,
Invested,
oh,
right?
working harder than ever. Even keep up to date so that you see the newest guidelines and newest management, and you can probably bring that up, discuss that. Sometimes once they, maybe the first week goes a little slow, but the coming weeks you'll be told to rotate on the different patients and present those cases. So when you present the cases, it's basically history and physical examination, but you also have to mention your plan of management, which include what kind of diagnosis, what will you do, what treatment would you give. Hence, up to date would be a good resource at the site to help you get through. Okay, this is what I think. Of course, they will guide you. You will never have the exact management. You're just a medical student. But even if you show that initiative, it's great. Sometimes you can even be like, okay, this is an interesting case. I'd like to present more on it. I saw this very interesting finding in a lung cancer patient, the lymphangitic, okay, I'm forgetting the name. I'm sorry. It's been 2 years. But, and that was an IM. So anyway, I've forgotten it. But, so that topic, then I tried to present it with a PowerPoint presentation after doing a lot of literature search and everything. I was just presenting it up to people. So that also helped me. And, that helped me build a rapport with everybody in the team as well as the attending because they saw that I'm going above and beyond just being a medical student turning up to learn passively. I'm trying to actively learn. That's
Right.
what makes all the difference. They'll be able to put all these things into the letter when they're writing it for you. So it's important to, keep working hard, be the first person to show up, last to leave, and make the most of your elective. Like, utilize it. Absolutely.
That's great.
I think that's all I would like to say about it.
And is there a procedure for applying to electives, and are there some criteria that they take into consideration before accepting?
So first, most importantly, check the websites of each electives, clinical elective offering universities to know what their requirements are. Some have step one, some don't have step one, some have TOEFL, some don't have TOEFL. So check that out and accordingly prepare. Their selection criteria is something even we don't really know
Mm-hmm.
because some people might get rejected, some people might get an elective, so we don't honestly know. But have a good CV, they usually ask for a sort of personal statement even for electives. It's a simple document where you basically write why do you like that particular rotation, what have you done in the past in your medical school to help you be the kind of person who would do well at such a rotation, and why this university or something. So just write a small sweet, short but succinct personal statement. Make a good CV, make a professional one, and have all these whatever research or volunteer experiences that you have in that, and just apply broadly to a lot of electives, and see which ones then accept you and how you can fit it into your timeline.
Right. This one person did their electives, I think, in 2018, and
Okay.
they haven't really applied to the matches yet, and they're wondering how to get an LOR right now.
It's a little late. If you, I don't know what the situation is. If that person has stayed in touch with their mentor from 2018, then they can ask for a letter, maybe, but it's quite late. It's preferably supposed to be an elective you've done in the last 1 year or so.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're not in touch with a mentor and you suddenly just come up to them like, "Hi, I did this elective 3 years ago," it's going to be awkward. They're going to forget you, and they're definitely not going to write one for you. It will not be personalized either because they don't remember you.
Of course.
So I would rather like you have fresher electives and try to get letters from them.
Okay. So there's also like another person who told me that they have scores in the 230s with elective which they did in internal medicine last year. So is that good enough for pediatrics?
For pediatrics, you require at least one USLOR from a pediatrician there, or
Okay.
pediatric subspecialty, anything. So try to get a tele-rotation or something in pediatrics, maybe an observership also, whatever in pediatrics, and try to build your CV towards that also. See,
Mm-hmm.
many people have this thing that pediatrics is a less competitive branch. I would say no, I'm sorry, that's not the case.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it is, but the thing is, it depends on what scores you have. The higher the scores you have, the better tier of programs that you may get invitations from. And if you have lower scores, you get from the lower tier programs. So then, and you will get lesser interviews versus you get more interviews. So your chances of matching also then hence differ. It's not
Right.
it's not a clear cut thing. I have friends who had lower scores and still matched into their top choice great programs. So not saying that, but they had a lot of other things going for them in the CV, like they did more electives to make up for the lower scores. So they had like
Mm-hmm.
these amazing letters from them, or they worked on their interview skills and all the documents and everything. So it's just make yourself more competitive as compared to another candidate who's going in the match with you. Basically, it's like that. Like
Right.
what can you do better? You try to do better. So
Mm.
if you are so passionate about PEDS, try to get a PEDS LOR definitely.
Yeah, I think that also answers this other question where this person has a double 250, that is 250 in step one and step two, but they do
Okay.
not have any clinical experience. So in the US, so that
Little
says like
tough.
no LOR. So it's again like you need to do your best, right? So what do you
Yeah.
suggest?
I remember through Reddit, I met a lot of people, who were applying for the match. And
Mm.
one of them was this wonderful person I came across who had double 250s. And I prayed very fervently for that person to get more interviews, but they ended up getting only two. And
Okay.
they are actually dual applied to PEDS and IM, and they got both from PEDS.
Mm-hmm.
So they felt very disappointed because they wanted in IM and they had no choice but to rank PEDS programs. And then I don't know what happened. That person didn't follow up with me.
Oh.
Also, another person on Facebook I came across. This is also another very recent person. They had a 240, 260, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and applied to PEDS. Had some great interviews, but somehow they matched at a very lower ranked program and everything. So having just the scores doesn't help you. You need to have everything. Now,
Right.
if you have to put four LORs into your ERAS application, otherwise it's considered incomplete. So if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have those four LORs, out of which at least two or three are American, it's going to look incomplete. It's going to look like you've done nothing. So it's just they will not even look at it what is considered an incomplete application. So try to have four LORs, out of which at least two are US based, because that will definitely boost your CV. So yeah.
Is it necessary to have contacts in the US in order to get
Oh
LORs?
my God. I've been asked that question so many times, and I want to say no, it's not necessary to have contacts. Look, I don't know why people. So I think it's because maybe I had a competitive profile. Okay, I will not deny that. I was a fresh grad. I had good scores and I had my letters and everything. So probably That made me a competitive candidate who had never got to rely on contacts to help them. But if you are, say, probably having a red flag, maybe having some contacts in some programs may help you. Again, this may is very big. Why? Because you may have the contacts and they may work for you. But eventually, the program director is the person who's going to select your application, your profile. And if they think it's not competitive enough, you will still not be picked. You will
Right.
still not get into anything if you don't have it. It all boils down to whether you are competitive enough or not. So no matter how many contacts may pull for you, the selection process is still quite independent of that. Yes,
Correct.
it may say so the contact may go and be like, oh, it's Devanshi Shah's, application, pick that up, pick that up. So they may pick it up as compared to some other candidates who they were picking up. But if they feel, no, it's not competitive enough, they will put it aside.
Hmm.
So build your CV up, build your scores up, build everything up. Whatever red flag you have, be it an old year of graduation, be it an attempt on your steps, be it anything, make up for it. Let your CV show more positive stuff than the negative stuff. So what have you done to get over these life gaps, these stumbles on the way is what makes you who you are and makes you a good doctor. So work on that. Like work on making your CV have more positives than negatives, and eventually that will work in your favor absolutely. So
Definitely.
contacts is just a very dubious thing, at least according to me.
Right.
So
Makes sense. Okay, so what do you know about preceptorship and do you think it's useful?
okay, I just want to understand what exactly does preceptorship include. So is it, are you a hands-on clinical elective person? Are you doing only an observership? Is it some research position? I would like to know what exactly this role entails for it to cost you $5,000. See, I'll be honest, my University of Alabama elective was also $5,000 and it included housing, got me a very good pediatric letter. So I feel my money is nicely invested and spent. But if you, I need to understand what this preceptorship is going to give me. Is it including housing? Is it including a good hands-on, robust training? Is it going to include inpatient, outpatient service? Am I going to get enough time with the attending source to be able to build a rapport and hence ask for a letter? Will the letter I get be on a letterhead of a university or what hospital? And will the letter be generalized or personalized? These are all the questions I would ask to understand whether paying so much money is worth it or not. Honestly,
So
you need to
if
be very
it does
clear.
include all of these things, do you think it's worth it at the end of the day?
Do you have any other options which also give you the same, which are cheaper? You need to keep comparing. So,
Right. That makes sense. And when you were applying, like how many programs did you apply to?
I applied to 125 programs and I got 14 interviews out of them. So, pretty good
Were they
deal.
all for peds or were they
All
all for
peds.
all?
I was always only a peds applicant,
Did you
purely
always
peds.
know you wanted to do peds or did you just develop that interest later?
No, it was so I think peds was something that I by default liked since the very beginning. Um, Something about peds is just so fascinating. So people think it's only because I like kids. No, no. I actually am very awkward around kids. Let me just put it out. I'm very worried about how I'm going to be around them. But what fascinates me is the peds pathophysiology, like the entire. See, you're seeing a child grow from being a tiny neonate to all the way into adolescence. You see so much variation in the human body, both mentally and physically, and even emotionally. And you're going to be dealing with all those sorts of things throughout all these various ages. You're also seeing genetic syndromes, unique ones, genetic disorders, everything. I saw such unique cases when I was doing pediatric endocrinology rotation at UAB. So overall, I mean, peds is so fascinating, so much
Hmm.
scope, so many things to do. Even now, my sudden interest grew in pediatric child abuse. And I realized it's such a wonderful, unique field that we don't really have an idea about. Such an important one. Child abuse is a big topic. And
Right.
I realized that we have a pediatrics child abuse fellowship at Maimonides, and my program director is also a child abuse specialist. So that sort of probably boosted my decision to,
That's
put it at
nice.
number one. So yeah, it's so fascinating, something new, and I'm very happy to learn about that. So peace is always, always, always about advocating for your patient, fighting for the right thing, making sure you're giving the best to the child. So it's a wonderful field, and job satisfaction is the maximum. Children are the best patients. You will have the most wonderful conversations with them. So I'm like very happy when I go into Pete's. So really looking forward to.
How did you know which programs you wanted to apply to?
Oh, I applied broadly. I actually just so you go to AMA has their own website called Residency Explorer, and there's
Mhm.
another one called Frida. So basically, you go on to Residency Explorer. I like that better than Frida, that's why. So Residency Explorer, I put in pediatrics. And there's a list of programs. And you put in other preferences like non-US IMG, and you put in even your scores and everything, and they show you which programs your profile will most likely match to or whatever. Don't look at that. Look at the fact that how much non-US IMG percentage is there. So you apply to all those programs. You also go on the websites and see whether they take international candidates or not, like what is their visa requirement. And you also see the resident classes to see what is the, what is a mixture of people. Is it only non-US IMG, only US IMG, what kind of programs they are, and you decide where you want to apply to. I applied broadly to programs where I felt that there was no visa restriction and where there was like even 1% chance for an IMG to get into. So I applied to 125 programs. People have applied to lesser programs in Peds also. So it's just whatever, like, wherever you want to try your luck at, honestly.
Right. And what was interviews like this year? Because like it was this whole virtual interviews, it was so new. Were you looking forward to it?
I I was very nervous actually, but luckily all the programs are wonderful. I've not had a single complaint. All of them made me feel very comfortable on the interview day. So that is one wonderful thing that happened. Very well organized, very nice, warm people that I've met. Like I feel even if I go back now, I'm like, okay, I matched to one program, but hey, all the other programs were also nice. So I feel why I didn't match there. It makes you feel like that. But overall, what you're seeing now, I had a ring light, I had my laptop, I actually had a speaker which got just spoiled right now, like a microphone. And that's it. I'm just dressing up well, sitting here for 6-7 hours in front of the burning lights. But it was fun. It was still quite a good experience. I still actually don't. I've never been to New York. I've actually not been to Maimonides in person, so I don't know what it's going to be like. But they took us on a lot of tours. They showed us a lot of pictures, so you get an idea about the place, an idea about the city, everything. Even I had many interviews in various cities as well as small towns, so they gave us a lot of feel. So it was not like I wasn't there. It made me feel good. So although it was unique, although it was different, it wasn't bad. So doable, good, happy about it.
And I'm sure like you would have saved a lot of money, right? From not being able to
Oh,
travel and
so my
stuff.
parents were dreading this. They're like, "Oh my God, where will you stay?" Because I don't have relatives per se in the United States whom I can stay with. So they were like, "You'll have to rent an Airbnb and stay." Oh my God, 3 months of rent and you're not even earning anything. And I'm like, okay, you're giving me a lot of tension. And like traveling from one place to another by airplanes or trains or cars or whatever mode of transport you get. I was getting very worried and tense about it. But luckily got through it. Now that everything was virtual, I was very happy about it, genuinely.
Yeah,
The
I think
only
a lot of
investment I had to do was a ring light and the microphone. That's it. I was very happy.
right. I think a lot of people did save up a lot of money for this thing and they applied to more programs because they didn't have to spend on travel.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
That
That
was an
was
advantage.
another issue that came up, that there was a sort of too many people applying to too many programs because they didn't have to travel. And there was interview hoarding or whatever. Now, obviously, there's no official evidence about all these things happening, but maybe there was a sort of problem regarding all that. Also, visa sponsoring programs did not invite many visa requiring candidates this year because of the whole ban and all the problems that have happened with the COVID-19 pandemic. Even we are facing the same thing now. So that's not going to change. But hey, we are an integral part of the system. Many of us match. So IMGs are always going to be an integral part of the system. It's always going to work.
So how did you prepare for the interviews? Did you like go through some websites and stuff, watch some videos or
Um, I had a document of around 120 questions. I found it from a Facebook forum. I'll be sharing it shortly on my Instagram page. I just sat down one day, read through all the questions, and I started writing small answers to them. I did not check if my answers were correct or not. I wrote it whether they were right to me, whether they showcased me as a person correctly or not. They don't have to be right or wrong. They need to basically be you being truthful and honest about your own self when you're answering those sort of questions. It's a mix of very simple questions about, okay, why pediatrics, or whatever you've asked me, that sort of questions, or it's like situational and behavioral questions that are asked. For that, yes, you may refer to any other websites or something for more information on how to tackle them. But I think the most important thing is they want to see how you as a doctor would perform if these situations came up. So be truthful. You are a doctor who's been through very rigorous training, so you would know. So Yeah, just be honest. And there are always going to be one or two questions asked in every interview which will trump you. You will not be able to answer them. So again, the best policy is be truthful, be honest. If you can't answer them, be like, okay, I cannot answer this. Probably if you could give me some more time, I'll think about it and get back to you. Or just be honest and answer as you would if you came up across that situation. Be truthful. Or be like, I don't know the correct answer to this. Something like that. Be honest. They value honesty over anything else. But yeah, being prepared with those sort of questions definitely helps you answer on the spot.
True. And what about you? Did you have any issues on your CV? Like, I wouldn't say issues, but some things that are considered as red flags, like gap years and stuff. You said you were a fresh graduate. I'm sure you didn't have
Yeah,
that problem. But then, how do you
that
think
was
people
not the
should
problem.
approach such things? Like, how do they explain themselves in such a situation?
So, as I said earlier, you need to build up on the positives when you have a few negatives in your CV. So, say if you are somebody who's applying many years after graduation, you need to be able to explain what you've done during that time. If it was any way clinically related, even in your home country, it's welcome. It's an important part. You were still part of the system. I know of this doctor who matched into pediatric cardiology because she's herself a pediatric cardiologist in her home country. And she had to shift to the States because of her husband shifting. So then she applied and she's got into Cook County for PEDS. Cook County is
Amazing.
not very non-US IMG friendly, but she got in. So there was also something that helped her. And that was also, she was, I think, 18 years or so out of graduation. As you can
Wow.
see, she had been working in her field and she must have obviously done some research, some academic work, whatever. She's been in touch with that field. So they thought, yeah, it's fine. I mean, she has the experience.
Yeah,
Now, again,
exactly.
many old grads think about switching their specialities, which is where the problem arises, because you say you've been an ophthal in your home country, now you want to come into the States and want to do internal medicine. That's where the problem arises. So, what else have you been doing during that time that points a little bit in the direction of internal medicine? Or when you took the decision, what did you try to do? You need to have observerships, a lot of them, to be able to show that you've worked continuously in an internal medicine setup or something like that. Try to get great scores. Again, if you attempt, your other option is to try to make up for it with a lot of clinical electives. So just wherever you feel you're falling short, try to improve on something else. Wherever you feel like you have a red flag, as I said, improve the positives, improve your research, improve your publications, your volunteer work, whatever it takes. Build up your CV that way so that you don't have so many questions on the negative part of it. And if they ask you at all about your red flags in an interview, be truthful, be honest, and be confident that you did this, but you've gotten over it to become something else. So absolutely take it in your stride and move ahead. That's what you need to do.
Definitely, that's wonderful advice. And what are some tips for virtual interviews?
Invest in a good setup, like have a good laptop which doesn't have software issues or conks off or something. Have good internet, so like have a strong wi-fi or something, because you need to be on Zoom for like 6-7 hours, so have that very good fast speed internet. Maybe if you want an ethernet, you can do that ethernet cable or stuff, but I rely on my wi-fi. Maybe having a good ring light definitely makes your skin, makes you look good. So do that. Have a good corner, which like is isolated, secluded, where you can talk for hours on end, as well as has a good background. Like I have this little bit of you know
So sweet.
tidbits. So I was asked all my tidbits during my interview, so that was there. Dress up well. Be well groomed. That goes without saying. For any interview, be very well groomed, dress up well, look good. Yeah, good to invest in a microphone. Not even your AirPods are fine, whatever works for you, but make sure your diction and clarity is good. What happens is in person, even with a very strong accent, you can get away with it. They'll be able to understand you. Here, because of Zoom, things do differ. So try to improve on your diction. Speak slowly, speak nicely, speak clearly and loudly so that they are able to hear you. Don't be too loud though. And at any point, like, be clear that okay, I can't hear you, I can't talk, there's being some problem. You may have to rejoin meetings and all that. Don't be afraid of all those technical errors. Everyone goes through them. So just some of these tips for virtual interviews.
Okay, so this was just a question for you and your gut feeling. What do you think was out there that you think got you matched?
I think, see, the first part is good scores help you definitely to get into a higher tier. So as I said, there are tiers. So whatever scores you have, you may match to that sort of tier of the program. Okay, good scores do help you. Having a good CV helps you. Good letters help you. So overall, your application has to be good. Okay, an application gets you interviews in good programs. But then after that, it's only you. It's only your interview performance. If during the interview you show that you are an ideal US resident physician. You have a lot of confidence, you have a good way of speaking, you show that passion towards that subject, and the passion about being a hardworking resident physician there. That's what matters. So it's like I feel 50% your CV and then 50% your interview skills. How you are on that day, how you answer the questions and whatever. Letters of interest probably work on letters of intent. So letters of interest is what you send out to programs to give you the chance to interview. So if your CV is good enough and you send a letter of interest, they may consider you and send you an invite. That did help me. I got like 4 interviews out of that. Uh, and then I sent the letter of intent to my number one program and told them that I'm ranking at number one. So I don't know if that helped or not. It doesn't help much because they obviously have judged you. They have, ranked you out of all the different characteristics they look for in an interview. But even so, always good to cover all your bases. So overall, all of these things helped me, I believe, to match into my program,
Right.
and a
Yeah,
lot of
it's like a
confidence.
holistic thing, and it's not like just one thing.
Yeah, I really can't pinpoint because I was asked so many situational and behavioral questions actually in the Maimonides interview. And I was asked a lot of questions on so many things. Like I had 2 interviews and I was asked so many things. So I eventually don't know how I answered all of them and what exactly they were particularly looking for. But I think they were looking for everything. They were looking for somebody who can work well with all the residents, work well with the faculty, work well with the kids. So all of those things, everything.
So, how are you spending your time now? Are you preparing for residency, or you're just like, taking it easy and just chilling?
So we have got homework from our residency program. We have to complete some modules before we join residency. So I'm doing all that. Right now, I'm busy with my visa work. Actually, visas have some issues which have cropped up because of the travel restrictions, but we are getting through that. Otherwise, I chill. I am painting a lot. I'm writing a lot. So getting back to all my hobbies. Just spending a lot of time with my family. I'm learning a bit to cook, like just
Okay.
a little bit. I'm trying to learn a lot more, but it's just going very slowly. And yeah, basically just relaxing, probably trying to work on some other aspects of, not my CV, but just trying to do more activities, whatever I can from home because I'm quite bored. But yeah, I'm just basically really enjoying right now because I know residency is going to be very, very tough. But I'm excited also. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. And what about visa? Did you get an H-1B visa or?
Yeah, I have applied for an H-1B visa that is there, but right now everything's a little bit of at a standstill because we are just trying to get the clarification regarding the current travel restrictions and how incoming resident physicians are going to be exempted or not from that. So we're all working on that actually right now. So yeah, let's see. Hoping everything sorts itself out by the end of this week.
Yeah, I really hope it works out. Like, have you thought of coming back to India after residency?
Um, So I'm going to do a residency for 3 years and then a fellowship for 3 years. That's at least my plan. So that's 6 years. So I really cannot predict how my life is going to be 6 years later. But probably not. I'll probably settle down there because it's very tough to then, re-enter a system here while you have been trained in another system. Also because once you get accustomed to a certain quality of life, you don't want to change that. A lot of things basically. So maybe not. Not really gone either ways for it, but probably not.
Okay.
Maybe. Let's see.
And can you do like a fellowship just after residency? Like immediately
Yeah,
after?
absolutely. You can. In your third year of residency, then you can apply for the fellowship match.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also the same match process as a residency. You go for the fellowship match, and yeah, you can go in. Unless you want to do a chief year, which is your fourth year of residency, and then you apply for the fellowship at that time and match into something, then that's also there.
Right. And is it possible to change specialties after 1 year of residency? Like, what if all of a sudden I don't like pediatrics anymore and I want to do maybe internal medicine?
That actually should not happen because you're actually signing, once you have entered programs into your rank list for the match, you've signed a binding contract with NRMP that you will not break that and you will stay with the program for 3 years. So if it's a categorical program, you have to stay with it for 3 years and complete that. Otherwise, it's a violation of the match. And also because okay, you may leave a specialty or something, but it's very difficult to then get off cycle PG by to position somewhere else. And again, the whole thing, like your CV is built for something else, you have a 1 year experience in something else. It's just going to be really tough to get into another thing like that. I think just be very well aware of what you're getting into so that you're not miserable, and you don't have to come up with such alternatives in your life. Seriously damaging to your your reputation also. Like overall, people will one program director talks to another one, and they'll be like, "Oh, this person abandoned my program." Then that
Right.
leaves a very bad impression. So don't do all these things.
You know, honestly, I have to tell you on your Instagram, I don't know how I found your profile, but it just came up one day and I was going through your posts. I was literally saving everything because everything is so important. I was like, wow, you're like the
Oh
virtual
yeah, see,
mentor for
that's
like
what
so
my
many
thought was,
people.
because there were so many things during my own journey where I wished that, oh, I knew better about this. I'm learning from my own experience. I wish I already knew about it. So I
Mm-mm.
made this page to help others. Everyone should get that experience.
Exactly. Thank you so much for like doing this. It really means a lot to me.
But
Definitely.
thank you for this opportunity, and I hope your video comes out well.
You're welcome.
And good luck to you. Good luck for all
Thank you
your
so much.
USMLE plans and aspirations, and for the
Definitely.
match season.
Yeah, all the best to you.
Sure, I'm hoping to upload a lot of stuff once my residency starts and guide people about that too. So
That'll
let's
be
see.
great. That'll be great. Okay. Thank you
Sure.
so much.